Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Life is not about playing the same game everyone else is playing. It's about changing the game. The reason most people never rise to greatness is because they try to fit in. They try to follow the same rules, live the same patterns, and think the same way as everybody else. But the secret to changing the game is understanding that if you want different results, you must be willing to do something different. Changing the game is not about talent. It's not about resources. It's not about luck. It's about mindset, hunger, and execution. It's about saying, I refuse to let life happen to me. I'm going to make life happen for me. The greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders didn't just play the game. They shifted it. They brought a new energy, a new strategy, a new way of thinking, and you have the same power inside of you. The question is, are you willing to step out of comfort, break the excuses, and rise into excellence? Because the game will not change on its own. You are the change. When you look at the life of anyone who has ever changed the game, you'll notice one thing first before all the accomplishments, before all of the fame, before all the money, and before all of the success, it started in their mind. Everything you will ever do, everything you will ever accomplish, every barrier you will ever break, it starts with how you think. Mindset is the foundation of everything. If your mind is weak, your effort will be weak. If your mind is limited, your life will be limited. But if your mind is strong, if your mind is open, if your mind is disciplined, there is no limit to what you can do. The real battle is not on the field, not in the classroom, not in the office, not on the stage. The real battle is in your head every single day when you wake up and decide who you're going to be. The reason most people never reach their potential is because they lose that battle in the mind before they even take the first step. They wake up and they already tell themselves they can't. They wake up and already convince themselves it's too hard. They wake up and already believe the world is against them. That's why they never get started. That's why they never fight through the pain. That's why they quit halfway. Wait. But the ones who change the game, the ones who make history, they think differently. They tell themselves, oh, why not me? They tell themselves, I was born for this. They convince their mind first. And because the mind is convinced, the body follows. When you understand the power of your mindset, you stop waiting for other people to validate you. You stop waiting for people to believe in you. You stop waiting for the world to approve of you. You start realizing that the belief you carry in your own head is far more important than the opinions of 1,000 people outside. If you don't believe in you, it doesn't matter how many others do. And if you do believe in you, it doesn't matter how many others doubt you. That's how powerful the mind is. Think about every invention, every breakthrough, every innovation that changed the game for humanity. It began as a thought in someone's mind. Before the airplane, someone had to see flying in their imagination. Before electricity lit up the world, someone had to believe it was possible. Before the smartphone, someone had to visualize putting that kind of technology in the palm of a hand. Everything you see started as a thought. So if everything you see began in the mind of someone else, what is stopping you from believing that the thoughts you carry could also change the world? The challenge is that your mind can be your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. It depends on what you feed it. If you feed it excuses, it will produce excuses. If you feed it fear, it will produce fear. If you feed it doubt, it will produce doubt. But if you feed it discipline, it will produce discipline. If you feed it hunger, it will produce hunger. If you feed it faith, it will produce faith. Your results in life are nothing more than the harvest of what you planted in your mind season after season. Some people are planting weeds of negativity every single day and then wondering why they never grow a harvest of greatness. The soil of the mind doesn't discriminate. It gives you back what you put in. That's why you must guard your thoughts like treasure. Most people don't understand that mindset is not something you work on once. It is something you work on daily. Just like the body gets weak if you stop training, the mind gets weak if you stop strengthening it. Every day, you must wake up and train your mind to believe, to push, to see beyond the obstacles in front of you. When the voice in your head tells you you're not good enough, you gotta fight back and say, I'm built for this. When your mind tells you to quit, you gotta fight back and say, I will keep going. When your mind tells you it's impossible, you gotta fight back and say, nothing is impossible. That daily fight in the mind is what separates the average from the great. Changing the game begins the moment you refuse to accept the limits that other people try to place on you. Society will tell you what you can't do. Friends might laugh at your dreams. Even family sometimes can't see your vision. But it doesn't matter, because the mindset of a game changer is not built on the applause of others. It's built on inner conviction. You've got to be willing to stand alone in belief when nobody else sees it yet. You've got to be willing to walk into the dark, trusting that your light will shine. The secret to mindset is not just believing in success when things are easy. It's holding on to belief when everything is falling apart. Anybody can have confidence when they're winning. But true mindset shows up when you're losing, when the bank account is low, when the doors are closed, when the opportunities seem gone. Do you still believe then? Do you still speak victory then? Do you still act with faith then? That's when mindset makes the difference. That's when mindset changes the game. Because while others quit in the storm, you keep pushing. While others complain, you keep grinding. While others sit in fear, you move in courage. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the most talented. You don't need to be the most connected if your mindset is relentless. A relentless mindset will find a way where there is no way. A relentless mindset will turn every no into fuel for the next attempt. A relentless mindset will get up after every fall and keep moving. Talent can get tired. Money can run out. Connections can fade. But a strong mind will carry you through it all. Look at your own life. How many times have you given up not because you couldn't do it, but because you told yourself you couldn't do it? How many times did you have the ability, but you let fear stop you? How many times did you have the opportunity, but you doubted yourself so much you never even tried? The enemy wasn't outside of you. It was inside your head. Now imagine if you flipped that. Imagine if every time you heard fear, you answered with courage. Imagine if every time doubt crept in, you replaced it with faith. Imagine if every time excuses came, you answered with execution. How different would your life look? That's the power of mindset. Game changers don't wait until they feel confident to act. They act their way into confidence. They know that the mind is shaped by action as much as by thoughts. Every time you push through discomfort, you train your mind to be stronger. Every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, you convince your mind that you are unstoppable. Every time you step out in faith instead of fear, you stretch the limits of what your mind believes is possible. Over time, you build a mental muscle that no obstacle can break. So the secret is this. Before you change the game out there, you must first change the game in here. Before you break barriers on the outside, you must first break barriers on the inside. Before you dominate the field, the classroom, the stage, or the boardroom, you must first dominate your own thoughts. Because once the mind is aligned, once the mind is locked in, once the mind is unshakable, everything else follows. You want to change the game? Start with your mind. Believe bigger, dream louder, think stronger, guard your thoughts, train your focus, discipline your beliefs. Every great victory begins in the mind of someone who refused to accept defeat. That someone can be you if you choose today to shift your mindset. Because the truth is, life will always test you, but mindset will always decide whether you fail. Life will always bring challenges, but mindset will always determine if you see them as obstacles or opportunities. Life will always bring pressure, but mindset will decide if you break or if you break through. The game will change for you only after the mind changes in you. And once the mind changes, nothing can stop you from rewriting the rules and setting a new standard for the world to follow. Stop playing small. That's the reason so many people never see what they're truly capable of, because they keep shrinking to fit into a box that was never designed for their greatness. Playing small means you hide your gifts because you don't want to stand out. Playing small means you settle for less when you know deep down you are built for more. Playing small means you silence your own voice because you're afraid someone else might not like what you have to say. But here's the truth. The world doesn't need you to be smaller. The world needs you to be everything you were born to be. When you play small, you deny the world the greatness inside you. Somebody out there is waiting for your idea, your vision, your story, your energy, but they'll never see it because you keep holding it back. You keep hiding behind Excuses like I'm not ready yet, or I don't want to fail, or what would they think of me? Let me tell you something. If you keep waiting until you feel ready, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. Greatness never comes when everything is perfect. Greatness comes when you step out, even when things are messy. When you step out, even when you're afraid. When you step out, even when you don't have all the answers. Most people play small because they don't want to make others uncomfortable. They don't want to look arrogant. They don't want to look like they're doing too much. They'd rather stay in the background and go unnoticed. But game changers know this. You were not created to hide in the shadows. You were created to shine. And when you shine, it's not arrogance. It's obedience to the gift you've been given. Playing small doesn't help anyone. Dimming your light doesn't make the world brighter. It makes it darker. If your gift can inspire someone, why would you ever bury it? Think about every person you admire. They didn't get there by playing small. Michael Jordan didn't play small. Serena Williams didn't play small. Oprah didn't play small. Oprah didn't play small. Steve Jobs didn't play small. They stepped fully into who they were. They decided, I'm not going to shrink for anybody. I'm going to take up space. I'm going to dominate my lane. And because they did game change forever, you can't change the game if you're always trying to blend in. You change the game by being bold enough to stand out. Playing small is often rooted in fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, responsibility, fear of responsibility. Some people are afraid of success just as much as they're afraid of failure because they know success will require more from them. So they choose to stay average. They choose to stay hidden because it feels safer. But let me remind you, safety is not the same as purpose. Comfort is not the same as destiny. If you spend your life hiding in safety, you will never touch the life you were called to live. The secret to breaking out of playing small is realizing that you don't serve anyone by holding yourself back. When you live small, the people around you don't get the best version of you. Your family doesn't get the leader you could be. Your community doesn't get the impact you can make. Your future children or future generations don't get the legacy you could leave. Playing small might make you feel safe in the moment, but it steals from the future. And if you don't want regret to eat you alive, you gotta stop shrinking and start stretching. Ask yourself this: what's the worst that could happen if you play full out? If you gave it everything, if you spoke up, if you showed up, if you poured out everything inside you, maybe some people won't like it. Maybe some people will laugh. Maybe some people will criticize. But so what? People will talk whether you're doing nothing or whether you're doing everything. You might as well give them something worth talking about. The critics will always have something to say, but when you live full out, when you live bold, when you live true to who you are, you silence them with your results. You can't get to the top playing small. You can't build a business playing small. You can't transform your body playing small. You can't change your life playing small. Small actions lead to small results. Small dreams lead to small impact. If you want something extraordinary, you have to give something extraordinary. You have to take risks. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to look crazy. You have to be willing to fail in front of people. That's the price of greatness. Playing small will cost you your destiny, and it's too expensive a price to pay. I know what some of you are thinking, but I don't want to come off as cocky. Listen to me, there's a big difference between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance says, I'm better than everyone else. Confidence says, so I'm giving everything I have. The world needs less arrogance, but more confidence. The world needs people who are willing to stand up and say, I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm not afraid to give it all. There is nothing wrong with owning your greatness. There is nothing wrong with taking your shot. There's nothing wrong with stepping fully into your gift. The truth is, playing small is easier. It's easier to stay quiet than to speak up. It's easier to hide in the crowd than to stand on the stage. It's easier to aim low than to aim high. But easy never changed the game. Easy never built empires. Easy never inspired the world. The game changers of history are the ones who chose hard over easy, growth over comfort, faith over feed. That's the choice you have to make if you're serious about changing the game. Some of you have been playing small for so long, you don't even realize anymore. You've convinced yourself this is just who you are. You've convinced yourself that big dreams are for other people, not for you. But I'm here to tell you that's a lie. You've got to shake yourself awake and remember that you are more powerful than you think. You have more inside you than you've been showing. You have a level you haven't touched yet because you've been scared to go there. But if you want to change the game, you can't stay in that place anymore. It's time to take up space. It's time to speak louder. It's time to dream bigger. It's time to work harder. It's time to stop apologizing for who you are. It's time to stop lowering yourself so others feel comfortable. It's time to stop letting fear dictate your moves. Playing small might feel safe in the moment, but it's killing you slowly because deep down you know you're capable of more. You can't sleep at night because the vision inside you won't let you rest. That's the universe reminding you that you weren't meant to shrink. You were meant to rise. So from this moment on, make a decision that you will never again play small. You will never again hide your gift. You will never again shrink your dreams to fit someone else's opinion. You will never again let fear stop you from trying. Why? Because once you decide to go all in, once you decide to live at full volume, once you decide to bring your whole self to the table, the game will never be the same again. You are not doing the world any favors by holding back. You are not helping anyone by pretending to be less than what you are. The world doesn't need a watered down version of you. The world needs the full version. And the moment you stop playing small, you give permission for others to do the same. You inspire your kids, your friends, your colleagues, your community to stop shrinking and to rise up. That's how movements are born. That's how revolutions start. That's how the game gets changed. So stop playing small. Take up the space you were designed to take. Walk in the authority you were given. Lie bold. Lie big. Live full. Don't die with your music still inside you. Don't leave this earth with your dreams still buried in your heart. Pour it all out. Give it all you've got. Because when you stop playing small, you don't just change your life. You change the game for everyone who comes after you. Consistency beats talent every single time. People love to celebrate talent. They love to admire those who seem naturally gifted, the ones who can pick something up and do it better than everyone else. But the truth is, talent without discipline is wasted potential. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if you don't show up every day, if you don't put in the work when it's boring, when it's hard, when nobody's watching, that talent will fade. The people who change the game aren't always the most talented, but they are the most consistent. They are the ones who keep showing up long after others quit. The ones who keep working long after others get distracted. The ones who keep grinding when everyone else is resting. Consistency is the secret weapon of greatness. It doesn't matter how small your steps are if you take them every single day. Small steps compound into big results, but only if you keep taking them. Most people fail not because they don't have talent, but because they can't stay consistent. They get excited at the beginning. They work hard for a week, maybe a month, but when the excitement wears off, they disappear. They start projects they never finish. They make promises they never keep. They chase goals they never stay committed to. And then they wonder why nothing changes. The answer is simple. Inconsistency kills dreams. The game doesn't reward the one who starts fast. It rewards the one who finishes strong. And finishing requires consistency. That's why you see people with average talent rising above those with natural ability. Because average talent plus relentless consistency will always beat raw talent plus laziness. Think about the athletes who practice every day, even when they don't feel like it. Think about the entrepreneurs who keep working after 10 failures. Think about the students who keep studying when everyone else goes to sleep. They might not start with the most talent, but they finish with the most results. Consistency is about building habits that outlast feelings. Feelings are temporary. They go up and down. Some days you feel motivated, some days you don't. But if your actions are controlled by feelings, you will never build momentum. The consistent person learns to act no matter how they feel. They train when they're tired. They show up when they're unmotivated. They work when it's inconvenient. That's what makes them unstoppable, because nothing can derail someone who's committed to showing up daily. You have to understand that consistency creates trust. It builds trust in yourself. Because every time you keep your word, every time you follow through, you strengthen your belief in your own ability. You also build trust with others because people see you as dependable, reliable, solid. And opportunities flow to people who are consistent because everyone wants to partner, invest, and build with someone they can count on. Talent gets attention, but consistency gets respect. The beauty of consistency is that it compounds. At first, you might not see the results. You might be working day after day, wondering if anything is happening. But consistency is like planting seeds. You don't see the harvest immediately. But if you keep watering, if you keep showing up, one day the growth becomes undeniable. The person who gave up will never see that day, but the person who stayed consistent will enjoy the harvest. That's why you can't quit just because it looks slow. Success is often invisible at first, but consistency makes it inevitable. The reason consistency is so powerful is because it transforms your identity. Every time you show up, you're not just doing the work. You're proving to yourself that you're the kind of person who doesn't quit. You're rewiring your brain to believe in discipline, to trust in persistence. Over time, you stop asking, can I do this? And you start saying, this is who I am. That identity shift is what sustains you when the road gets tough. Talent won't carry you through the tough times, but consistency will. Think about a sculptor. They don't create a masterpiece with one strike of the hammer. It's thousands of small strikes, day after day, piece by piece, that shapes the stone into something beautiful. That's what consistency does to your life. It shapes you. It molds you. It turns your rough edges into strength, your weaknesses into skills, your dreams into reality. But you've got to keep striking, even when it feels repetitive, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because every strike matters, even if you can't see it yet. Most people overestimate the importance of talent and underestimate the power of consistency. They think if they weren't born gifted, they can't win. But that's not true. The world is full of stories of people who had no obvious advantage, who were counted out, who had no resources, but who kept showing up until they created opportunities for themselves. Consistency doesn't care where you started. It cares how long you're willing to keep going. Consistency also builds resilience. When you show up regularly, you develop the ability to push through boredom, to push through fatigue, to push through failure. You stop expecting quick wins and start appreciating long-term growth. That resilience is what prepares you for the big moments. Because greatness doesn't come from one lucky opportunity, it comes from being prepared when the opportunity finally arrives. And the only way to be prepared is through consistent practice. If you want to change the game, don't focus on being the most talented, focus on being the most consistent. Show up earlier, stay later, work harder, but most importantly, do it every day. Build routines that carry you when motivation fails. Build habits that keep you moving when emotions fluctuate. Build discipline that locks you in so deeply that quitting is no longer an option. That's how you separate yourself. Not by what you do once in a while, but by what you do day in and day out. Look at your own life and ask yourself, where have you been inconsistent? Where have you let talent go to waste because you didn't put in the daily work? Where have you started and quit? Started and quit, started and quit. That cycle is keeping you from greatness. Break the cycle. Decide today that you will be consistent no matter what. Because consistency doesn't just change what you achieve, it changes who you achieve, it changes who you become. It's not the one-time effort that defines you, it's the repeated effort. It's not the big gesture that changes your life. It's the small daily habits. Waking up early consistently, training consistently, studying consistently, saving consistently, creating consistently, speaking consistently. Over time, these small actions compound into massive change. That's the real magic of consistency. So stop waiting for talent to carry you. Stop relying on bursts of motivation. Stop expecting overnight success. Embrace the grind. Embrace the process. Embrace the process. Embrace the power of showing up daily. Because while talent might open the door, consistency is what keeps you in the room. Talent might give you a head start, but consistency will help you finish. Talent might shine for a moment, but consistency creates a legacy. At the end of the day, the people who win are not the ones who had the best start. They're the ones who refuse to stop. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not always fun, but it works. And if you're willing to commit to it, if you're willing to show up every day and put in the work, there's nothing you can't achieve. Talent is good, but consistency beats talent every time. Life is going to hurt you. There's no way around it. You can try to avoid pain, but pain will find you anyway. It will come in the form of disappointment, rejection, betrayal, failure, setbacks, heartbreak, and struggle. You can't control when it shows up or how it shows up, but you can control what you do with it. Most people let pain break them. They let it define them. They let it turn them bitter. But the ones who change the game, the ones who rise to greatness, they don't run from pain. They use it. They take pain and turn it into power. They take struggle and turn it into strength. They take setbacks and turn them into setups for something greater. Every champion you admire has a story of pain. They didn't just wake up successful. They went through nights of doubt, seasons of failure, times when everything seemed impossible. But instead of quitting, instead of giving up, they chose to endure. They took the punches life threw at them and used them as fuel. That's the secret. Pain is energy. If you let it, pain will push you harder than motivation ever could. When you've been through enough, you don't need inspiration quotes to get moving. The memory of your pain becomes enough to keep you grinding. Some of you are still running from your pain. You try to numb it, avoid it, pretend it doesn't exist. You distract yourself with entertainment, with comfort, with excuses. But the pain doesn't go away just because you ignore it. It lingers, it festers, it weighs you down. The only way to deal with pain is to face it head on and decide, I'm going to turn this into something. You can either let pain destroy you or you can let it build you. Those are the only two options. Think about a diamond. A diamond is just a piece of coal that went through extreme pressure and heat. Without that pressure, without that pain, it would never become something valuable. The same is true for you. You're going through what you're going through, not to break you, but to shape you. Every challenge, every failure, every heartbreak is molding you into the person you need to be to handle the greatness that's coming. But you gotta let the pain do its work. You gotta stop seeing pain as punishment as preparation. The truth is, pain reveals who you really are. When everything is good, when the money is flowing, when people are clapping for you, when life feels easy, it's simple to smile and stay positive. But the real test comes when it's all falling apart. Who are you then? Do you crumble or do you rise? Do you complain or do you create? Do you quit or do you keep going? Pain strips away the mask and exposes your true character. That's why you should never waste your pain. It's showing you what you're made of. Pain also builds empathy. When you've been through struggle, you can connect with others on a deeper level. You understand what they're going through because you felt it too. That empathy makes you a better leader, a better friend, a better human. Game changers don't just use their pain for themselves. They use it to inspire and uplift others. They tell their story, they share their scars. They show people that if they survived it, so can you. That's how pain becomes not just your power, but power for those around you. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come after the greatest pain. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. It wasn't when things were easy, it was when things were hard. Pain forces growth. It pushes you out of comfort. It demands that you adapt, that you evolve, that you stretch. Without pain, you stay the same. Without pain, you never realize how strong you really are. Without pain, you never reach the next level. That's why pain, as uncomfortable as it is one of the greatest teachers you'll ever have. But here's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who rise. Perspective. If you see pain as the end, it will break you. If you see pain as the process, it will make you. The meaning you give to your pain will determine what it produces in your life. Some people see failure as proof they aren't good enough. Others see failure as proof they're on the right path. Proof they're pushing themselves beyond the limits. The same pain, two different perspectives, two different outcomes. You've got to learn to flip the script on your pain. Instead of saying, why me? Start saying, try me. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of letting pain drain you, let it drive you. Every time you face rejection, let it fuel your determination. Every time you fail, let it sharpen your focus. Every time someone doubts you, let it increase your hunger to prove them wrong. That's how you turn pain into power. You refuse to waste it. I know some of you are thinking, but you don't know how bad my pain is. And you're right, I don't. But what I do know is that there are people who've been through worse and came out stronger. There are people who've lost everything and still rebuilt. There are people who've been betrayed, abandoned, counted out, and they still rose. Your pain might be great, but your potential is greater. You just have to decide what you're going to do with it. Pain has a way of showing up when you least expect it. You might be working toward your dream, everything going well, and then suddenly, life throws you a curveball. That's when you got to remind yourself that pain is not permanent. It might feel heavy now, but it will pass. And when it does, you'll be stronger for it. Storms don't last forever. Strong people do. If you can endure, if you can hold on, if you can keep fighting through the pain, you'll come out on the other side with more strength, more resilience, more wisdom than you had before. The world is full of talented people who never made it because they let pain stop them. They faced failure once or twice and decided it was too much. They faced rejection and took it personally. They faced loss and never got back up. Don't let that be your story. Let your pain be the reason you push harder, not the reason you give up. Let it be the reason you wake up earlier, the reason you train longer, the reason you study more, the reason you grind harder. Let your pain be the fuel that takes you where talent alone never could. So the next time life hurts you, the next time you face rejection, the next time you experience loss, don't run, don't hide, don't quit. Look pain in the eye and say a thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the fuel. Thank you for making me stronger. Because the truth is, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You don't have to let it destroy you. You can choose to let it build you. You can choose to let it make you unstoppable. When you learn to turn pain into power, nothing can stop you. Failure doesn't scare you anymore because you know it will only make you better. Rejection doesn't scare you because you know it's redirecting you. Setbacks don't scare you because you know there's setups for a comeback. Pain loses its control over you because you've learned to harness it. That's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. You want to change the game? Stop running from pain and start using it. Take every ounce of struggle, every tear, every scar, and turn it into fuel for your journey. Let your story of pain become your testimony of strength. Let your wounds become the proof of your resilience. Let your darkest moments become the fire that lights your path. That's the secret. Pain's not your enemy. It's your greatest source of power if you choose to use it. When we talk about changing the game, one of the most difficult yet most necessary truths is sacrifice. People love the idea of winning, shining, and being celebrated, but very few are willing to pay the price. You cannot live a comfortable life and expect to stand out in a world that demands more. Comfort never created greatness. The champions you admire, the innovators who shook industries, the leaders who left legacies, all of them sacrificed something significant to get where they are. They gave up nights of sleep, moments of fun, relationships that held them back, and habits that no longer served their purpose. They understood a timeless principle. If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to give up something you've always clung to. The truth is, sacrifice hurts. It doesn't feel good to deny yourself temporary pleasures. It doesn't feel good to walk away from what everyone else is enjoying. But the pain of sacrifice is nothing compared to the pain of regret. Too many people waste their lives because they refuse to trade short-term enjoyment for long-term fulfillment. They say they want success, but they aren't willing to put the video games down. They aren't willing to wake up earlier. They aren't willing to discipline their body. They aren't willing to shut out distractions. Sacrifice isn't glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy most of the time. But behind every success story is someone who was willing to bleed privately for the victory they now enjoy publicly. You can't change the game by giving the game leftovers. You can't transform your life by only working when it's convenient. Success doesn't come to those who are interested. It comes to those who are committed. And commitment means sacrifice. Think about it. The student who sacrifices partying for a late night studying gets the scholarship. The athlete who sacrifices junk food and lazy afternoons gets the contract. The entrepreneur who sacrifices comfort for relentless hustle builds the business. Sacrifice is the bridge that takes you from where you are to where you dream of being. The problem is many people want success without the cost. They want the reward without the process. They want to wear the crown, but not carry the cross. But the world doesn't work like that. Every step up requires you to let go of something holding you down. You can't hold on to mediocrity and excellence at the same time. You have to choose. Sacrifice is about choosing what matters most over what matters now. It's about trading instant gratification for eternal impact. And until you learn that discipline, you will keep playing small, keep losing to your excuses, and keep watching others surpass you. Sacrifice is not punishment, it is preparation. When you sacrifice, you're telling the universe, I'm serious. I'm willing to give up something I enjoy for something I value more. That act of self-denial builds strength. It sharpens your character. It trains your will. And over time, it separates you from the pack. Most people quit when sacrifice becomes uncomfortable, but those who endure that discomfort discover new levels of greatness. The late nights, the early mornings, the missed parties, the financial investments, the countless hours, they all compound into a version of yourself you didn't even know was possible. It's not just about giving things up, it's about trading up. When you sacrifice, you're not losing, you're investing. You're planting seeds in a soil of discipline that will grow into a harvest of success. People may laugh at you now. They may not understand why you're grinding when they're chilling, why you're working while they're playing, why you're silent while they're loud. But when the results show up, when your life shifts, when you start reaping what you sowed, the same people will ask you how you did it. And the answer will be simple. You sacrificed. Sacrifice also demands clarity. You have to know what you want badly enough that you're willing to let go of distractions. If you don't have a clear vision, sacrifice feels like suffering. But when your vision is strong, sacrifice feels like strategy. You're not just saying no to things. You're saying yes to something greater. The reason most people can't sacrifice is they don't truly know what they're after. They say they want success, but they haven't defined it clearly enough to fight for it. Once you lock in on your goal, once you see it so clearly that it becomes real in your spirit, you will gladly let go of the small things that don't matter. Understand this, the bigger the dream, the bigger the sacrifice. If you want average, you can keep average happy. But if you want extraordinary, you have to give up ordinary. You can't binge watch shows and binge eat junk food and expect to perform at a championship level. You can't waste time scrolling endlessly and then complain that you don't have time to work on your craft. Sacrifice requires you to be brutally honest with yourself and cut out the things that are silently stealing your potential. Sometimes sacrifice will mean losing people. There will be friends who won't understand why you can't hang out as much. There will be family members who question your grind. There will be voices telling you to slow down, to take it easy, to be a normal. But if you listen to those voices, you will live their reality. You don't need to be rude or arrogant, but you must be firm in your purpose. Changing the game means you're on a mission, and missions require focus. You can love people, but still sacrifice time with them because your future requires it. One of the hardest sacrifices you'll ever make is giving up your old self. The version of you that procrastinates, makes excuses, complains, and avoids responsibility. That version has to die for the new you to live. And that's a daily sacrifice. Every day you wake up, you have to choose the disciplined you over the lazy you, the focused you over the distracted you, the strong you over the weak you. That's not a one-time event. That's a lifestyle. It's the lifestyle of sacrifice that creates legend. Look at history. Look at every name that changed the world. They all sacrificed. Inventors who spent decades in obscurity, athletes who trained in silence, leaders who endured opposition, artists who gave everything to their craft. The common denominator is always sacrifice. That's why when people ask for the secret to success, it's not really a secret at all. It's sacrifice. The question is not whether sacrifice works, it always works. The question is whether you are willing to work it. So ask yourself, what am I holding on to that I need to let go of? What comfort is keeping me from greatness? What habit? What relationship? What distraction am I clinging to that is blocking my growth? Because until you answer those questions and act on them, you'll keep living beneath your potential. Sacrifice is the entry fee for every new level. You don't buy success with money. You buy it with time, energy, focus, and discipline. You buy it with sleep you didn't get, with outings you missed, with comfort you surrendered. That is the price tag. And the people who are willing to pay it, those are the ones who don't just play the game. They change it. Now is the time. Not tomorrow. Not when life feels easier. Not when everything is lined up perfectly. If you wait for the perfect time, you'll wait forever. Start sacrificing now. Start cutting out the distractions now. Start disciplining yourself now. Because every day you delay is another day you stay average. Another day you waste your potential. Another day you let someone else take the opportunity that could have been yours. The secret to changing the game isn't talent, luck, or chance. It's sacrifice. Every step forward requires you to leave something behind. Every level higher requires you to release what weighed you down on the last level. You cannot hold on to everything and expect to rise. If you want to win, if you want to change the game, you have to give it up to go up. Execution is the separator. Everybody talks, everybody dreams, everybody writes goals down on paper, but only a few people get up every single day and actually put in the work. Execution is where the game is won or lost. You can have the best plan in the world, the most brilliant idea, the strongest vision, but if you don't execute, it all stays in your head. Nothing changes until you move. Nothing grows until you grind. The world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards results. And results come only from relentless execution. People love the feeling of motivation. They love getting hyped up after a speech. They love watching a video and saying, "This is my year." But motivation without execution is just noise. Inspiration without action is wasted energy. You don't change the game by talking about what you're going to do. You change the game by doing it, by showing up day after day when it's not convenient, when it's not fun, when nobody is clapping for you. Relentless execution means you don't wait until you feel like it. You don't wait until conditions are perfect. You don't wait until you're ready. You move anyway. Most people lose because they stop at the idea stage. They get excited about something new, but the moment it requires consistency, they quit. They want the results of execution without paying the price of execution. They want the harvest without planting seeds every day. That's not how it works. To execute relentlessly means you're locked in on the process, not just the outcome. It means you're willing to push through boredom, through repetition, through resistance, because you know the process is building the result. Champions aren't made in the spotlight. They're made in the shadows of practice, where nobody's watching, nobody's cheering, and nobody's congratulating. Execution also requires urgency. Too many people think they have time. They procrastinate. They say, "I'll start tomorrow." They keep pushing their dreams down the road. But the clock doesn't stop for anyone. Every second you waste is a second you can't get back. If you want to change the game, you need to execute with urgency. Wake up with purpose. Attack your task like your future depends on it, because it does. Opportunities don't wait for you. And if you don't execute, someone else will. You must also understand that execution isn't about doing one big thing once. It's about doing the small things daily. It's the discipline of repetition. It's making the calls, writing the pages, lifting the weights, studying the notes, running the drills over and over again until mastery is second nature. People think execution is glamorous, but most of it is routine. Most of it is unsexy. But it's that daily unglamorous work that builds unstoppable momentum. Relentless execution means you stop treating consistency like an option and start treating it like oxygen. There will always be obstacles. You will face setbacks, failures, criticism, and moments where you doubt yourself. Relentless execution means you keep moving anyway. It's easy to execute when things are smooth, but game changers keep executing in the storm. They keep showing up when they're tired, when they're discouraged, when they're tempted to quit. That's what makes them different. Anybody can start. Few can endure. Relentless execution is about resilience. Falling and getting back up. Being hit and still pressing forward. Hearing oh and still knocking on the next door. The key is to focus less on perfection and more on progress. Too many people are paralyzed because they want to execute flawlessly. They want every detail to be right before they move. But perfection is the enemy of execution. Game changers know that done is better than perfect. That consistent, imperfect action will take you further than endless planning. You don't need to have all the answers. You need to take the first step. Execution creates clarity. Action reveals the path. But you'll never know unless you move. Execution is also about accountability. When you execute relentlessly, you hold yourself responsible. You stop blaming circumstances. Stop blaming people. Stop blaming your past. You understand that nobody owes you success. Nobody is coming to save you. The results you want are in your hand. And every day you either execute toward them or drift away from them. Relentless execution means you take ownership of your time, your habits, your decision. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them with consistent action. Think about the people who have changed industries, sports, or culture. They weren't always the smartest or the most talented, but they were relentless executors. They outworked everyone else. They showed up when others slept. They practiced when others partied. They delivered when others delayed. That's why they became legends. Talent without execution is wasted potential. But average talent with relentless execution can build greatness. Relentless execution also requires focus. You can't execute on everything. You must choose what matters most. Too many people spread themselves thin, chasing distractions, chasing every new idea, and then wonder why nothing gets finished. To change the game, you must lock in on your mission and pour everything into it. Say no to what doesn't align. Guard your time like treasure. Eliminate the noise, cut the excuses, and channel your energy where it matters. Execution without focus is just business. Execution with focus is progress. The reality is, execution is exhausting. That's why most people don't do it. It takes energy, sacrifice, and persistence. But relentless execution is not about how you feel. It's about what you commit to. Your feelings will tell you to quit. Your feelings will tell you to take it easy. But commitment demands that you show up regardless. When you execute relentlessly, your actions are louder than your emotions. You train yourself to move even when you don't feel motivated. That's discipline. Over time, relentless execution compounds. At first, it may feel like you're not making progress. You may put in the work for weeks or months without seeing big results. But if you stay consistent, something powerful happens. The small wins stack up. The habits become automatic. The momentum builds. Suddenly, the results that felt impossible start showing up. And once momentum is on your side, execution becomes a force that carries you further than you imagine. Changing the game is not a one-time event. It's the result of relentless execution, day after day, year after year. It's the grind, the hustle, the unseen hours that add up to breakthroughs. Execution doesn't make headlines until the victory comes, but without it, there would be no victory. People may call you obsessed. They may say you're doing too much, but obsession is what it takes to shift the game. Casual effort produces casual results. Relentless execution produces legendary results. So if you want to change the game, stop talking and start executing. Stop waiting and start moving. Stop dreaming and start doing. Write the plan, but more importantly, live the plan. Take the step, make the call, do the work every single day. Let your grind speak for you. Let your consistency silence the doubt. Let your results testify to your relentless execution. At the end of the day, the difference between those who wish and those who win is execution. The dreamers talk about it. The executors live it. The secret isn't more information, more motivation, or more resources. The secret is simple but hard. Execute relentlessly. Because when you execute relentlessly, the game cannot ignore you. If you want to change the game, you cannot afford to simply copy what has already been done. Copying may allow you to survive, but it will never allow you to dominate. The people who truly shift the culture, the ones who alter industries, who rewrite the rules, are those who dare to adapt and innovate. Life is constantly changing. The world is moving at lightning speed, and the strategies that worked yesterday may not work today. Those who resist change get left behind. Those who embrace adaptation and innovation create their own lane, their own identity, and their own victories. Adaptation means being flexible, being aware of the shifts happening around you, and having the courage to adjust your game plan. It's not about losing your identity. It's about being smart enough to grow with the time. Too many people are so stuck in their old habits, old routines, and old ways of thinking that they become irrelevant. They refuse to learn, they refuse to pivot, and then they wonder why opportunities pass them by. The truth is, if you don't evolve, you dissolve. Adaptation is survival, but more than survival, it is the foundation for expansion. Innovation is about creating something fresh, something new, something unique. It's about taking risks, experimenting with ideas and daring to think beyond the box everyone else is trapped in. Innovators don't follow trends, they set them. They don't just play the game, they change the rules of the game. Every breakthrough in history was born because someone dared to think differently. Someone refused to accept the limits others placed on them. Someone looked at the same situation everyone else saw, but decided to approach it from a new angle. That's the heart of innovation. Think about how technology, business, sports, and art have evolved. Every revolution started with individuals or groups who dared to adapt and innovate. The greatest companies didn't rise by copying their competitors. They rose because they adapted to consumer needs and innovative solutions that nobody else had thought of. The greatest athletes didn't just mimic what their peers were doing. They brought their own style, their own technique, something that forced the entire sport to change. The greatest leaders didn't just repeat the words of their predecessors. They delivered new visions that inspired entire generations. Adaptation and innovation are the twin engines of greatness. But here's the challenge. Adapting and innovating require humility and courage. Humility and courage. Humility because you must admit that what you've been doing may no longer work. And courage because you must take risks in stepping into new territory. Most people avoid both. They cling to what is familiar because it feels safe, even if it's slowly failing. They refuse to risk rejection or embarrassment, so they never innovate. And because of that, they stay average, stuck in mediocrity, watching others lead while they follow. Changing the game requires you to break free from that fear. You must be willing to look at your life, your career, your habits, and ask, where do I need to adapt? Where do I need to innovate? You must be willing to disrupt your own comfort before the world disrupts it for you. Waiting until you're forced to change is reactive. Game changers are proactive. They see the storm coming and adjust before it hits. They see the opportunity emerging and seize it before anyone else does. Adaptation also means resilience. The world is unpredictable. You will face failures, setbacks, and sudden changes you didn't see coming. The question is, will you break or will you bend? Will you let the changes crush you or will you adapt and turn them into fuel? Every time life knocks you down, you are being tested. Can you adapt? Can you rise again with a new plan, a new strategy, a new mindset? If you can, then every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth. If you cannot, then every challenge becomes an excuse to quit. Innovation, on the other hand, requires imagination. It requires you to see possibilities where others see problems. Innovators ask, oh, why not? Satisfied, why not? Innovators are not satisfied with how things could be. That obsession makes them push limits, challenge norms, and create paths where none existed. And because they dare to be different, they change the game not just for themselves, but for everyone who comes after them. But innovation doesn't mean you must invent the next smartphone or paint the next masterpiece. Sometimes innovation is simply bringing a fresh perspective to your work, adding creativity to your craft, or finding a new way to solve an old problem. Innovation is about constantly improving, constantly questioning, constantly evolving. It's about refusing to settle. Settling is the enemy of innovation. The moment you decide you've arrived, you stop growing. Game changers never settle. They adapt, they innovate, they keep pushing. Adaptation and innovation also require perseverance because not every new idea will succeed. Sometimes your innovation will fail. Sometimes your attempt to adapt won't go as planned. That's where most people stop. But those who change the game keep going. They learn from the failure. They refine the idea. They improve the execution. They understand that failure is feedback, not finality. The Wright brothers failed countless times before the first successful flight. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb. Innovators embrace failure as part of the process. They adapt with each setback and push forward with new energy. In your personal life, adapting and innovating means being willing to change your habits, routines, and mindset. Maybe the way you've been living is comfortable but not productive. Maybe the circle of people you spend time with keeps you in the same cycle of mediocrity. Maybe the job you've been holding on to is draining you of energy and passion. Adapting means making changes that align with your growth. Innovating means finding new ways to use your gifts, new ways to create opportunities, new ways to rise above the noise. In your career or business, Adapting and innovating means staying ahead of the curve. It means being aware of trends, technologies, and cultural shifts and using them to your advantage. It means never being complacent with success, but always asking, what's next? How can we make this better? How can we stand out? Because the moment you stop asking those questions, someone else will, and they'll take your place. Adaptation also requires patience. Growth doesn't happen instantly. When you try new strategies, it may take time to see results. When you innovate, others may doubt you at first. But if you stay patient, consistent, and committed, your adaptation will pay off and your innovation will eventually be recognized. The world always resists change at first, but eventually it catches up. That's why you cannot give up on adapting and innovating, just because it feels uncomfortable or unpopular in the moment. Changing the game is never about being the loudest. It's about being the smartest. And being smart means knowing when to adjust, when to pivot, when to reinvent yourself. It means never clinging so tightly to the past that you miss the opportunities of the future. It means daring to do what hasn't been done, even if you stand alone at first. Adaptation keeps you alive. Innovation makes you unforgettable. So if you want to change the game, stop copying and start creating. Stop resisting and start adjusting. Stop following and start leading. Be flexible enough to adapt and bold enough to innovate. The combination of those two forces will make you unstoppable. Because in a world that's constantly evolving, the only people who remain powerful are those who evolve with it. The game doesn't need another copycat. It needs a game changer. And the secret to changing the game is this: adapt when life demands it, innovate when life limits you, and never stop pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Success in life is never about chance. It's about choice, and those choices are rooted in habits. Habits are the invisible architecture that holds up the life you're building. And whether you realize it or not, the habits you practice daily are either moving you closer to the life you dream of or further away from it. The secret to changing the game is not just about having vision or ambition, but about engineering your life in a way that your habits reflect who you want to become, not just who you've been. Habits are powerful because they don't require you to think every time. Once established, they become automatic responses that either serve you or sabotage you. That's why winners create habits that align with their goals, while others settle for routines that trap them in mediocrity. If you want to shift your circumstances, you must first shift your daily actions, because nothing changes until you do. Think about it. When you see someone at the top of their craft dominating in sports, business, or personal life, you're not just seeing talent. You're seeing habits that have compounded over years. The athlete doesn't wake up at 5 a.m. to train just one time and suddenly become a champion. It's the discipline of doing it day after day, regardless of weather, mood, or obstacles, that makes the difference. The entrepreneur doesn't succeed because of one good idea alone. It's because they show up consistently, reading, learning, innovating, making calls, networking, and refusing to waste time. Habits are the daily bricks that build the structure of success. And if you don't control them, they will control you. If your habits are laziness, procrastination, self-doubt, and inconsistency, then your results will reflect that. But if your habits are focus, determination, discipline, and persistence, then you will inevitably elevate to another level. The challenge is that habits are often formed unconsciously. We do things because they feel comfortable or because they're familiar, not realizing that comfort is the enemy of growth. That's why most people stay stuck. They never intentionally design habits that challenge them to grow. They wake up when they feel like it, scroll through their phone, first thing in the morning, eat whatever is convenient, and spend their evenings consuming entertainment instead of creating opportunities. Then they wonder why success feels so far away. The truth is, you can pray for change, you can hope for change, but unless you align your daily habits with the vision you say you want, nothing is going to move. Habits are the bridge between intention and transformation. The beauty of habits is that small actions, when repeated consistently, produce massive results over time. Reading 10 pages of a book each day might not feel like much, but over a year, that's more than 3,600 pages of knowledge you've gained. Doing 20 push-ups daily might seem small, but in a year, that's over 7,000 push-ups, and your body will reflect it. Waking up an hour earlier every day to work on your goals may not feel monumental, but over months and years, that habit separates you from the pack. The compound effect of habits is either your greatest weapon or your greatest downfall. The people you admire are not extraordinary because of one decision. They are extraordinary because of consistent habits practiced in the dark when no one was watching. But building strong habits is not easy because it requires sacrifice. You have to give up things that feel good in the moment for what will be incredible later. Success demands that you trade late night scrolling for early morning discipline. Fast food for fuel that energizes your body, gossip and distractions for focus and growth. The reason many never change the game is because they're unwilling to change their patterns. They keep the same circle, the same routine, the same excuses, and expect different results. But to become someone different, you must do something different. And that means creating new habits and sticking to them even when it's hard. Habits are also a reflection of identity. If you tell yourself you're not disciplined, then you'll reinforce habits that reflect that belief. But when you shift your mindset and begin to see yourself as disciplined, as focused, as relentless, you'll naturally begin to align your habits with that identity. It's not about forcing change. It's about believing you are the kind of person who doesn't quit, who values time, who respects their own vision. Once your identity shifts, your habits follow. And once your habits shift, your entire life changes. That's why the real secret to changing the game is to change how you see yourself, because your self-image will determine the habits you choose to live by. You also have to recognize that bad habits don't just disappear. They must be replaced. If you want to stop wasting time, you have to fill that space with something valuable. If you want to quit procrastinating, you need to build habits of action and accountability. If you want to stop negative self-talk, you need to replace it with affirmations and gratitude. Habits thrive with consistency, so the more intentional you are about replacing what doesn't serve you with what does, the faster your life begins to shift. Remember, you can't outdream your habits. You can dream of being successful, wealthy, or healthy, but unless your habits are aligned with that vision, you'll always fall short. Another key to mastering habits is surrounding yourself with the right environment. You can't build winning habits in a losing environment. If you want to be disciplined, you can't keep hanging around people who are comfortable being lazy. If you want to grow, you can't keep spending time with people who are fine, staying stagnant. Your environment either reinforces your old habits or pushes you toward new ones. That's why winners surround themselves with others who challenge them, who raise their standards, who force them to show up at their best. If you want to change the game, change your environment so that it naturally supports the habits you're trying to build. The truth is, the difference between the average and the exceptional is not talent, luck, or opportunity. It's habits. Everybody gets 24 hours in a day, but not everybody uses those hours the same way. The game changers wake up with intention. They protect their time. They fuel their minds and bodies with purpose. And they refuse to let comfort dictate their actions. They understand that success is not about doing something once. It's about becoming the type of person who does it until it becomes second nature. And once that happens, success is inevitable. So if you want to change the game, don't wait for a miracle. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the right moment. Start building habits today that reflect the life you want tomorrow. Get clear on your vision. Design your daily actions to align with it, and commit to consistency no matter how you feel. Every great transformation begins with one small habit practiced consistently. Over time, those habits will create momentum. That momentum will create results, and those results will create a new reality. The secret to changing the game is simple. Master your habits, and your habits will master your future.